The world we are in is like an unopened book, with different time and space planes forming pages, layered and seemingly a world. However, once this book is opened, you will find that our world is only one page of this book. Some people say that there are 30.3 layers of outer heaven, the 9 springs and the Underworld Senluo Treasure Hall, and the 18 layers of hell all exist, but they are hidden and we cannot discover them for the time being. Finally, one day, like the sand of the Ganges River, an ectopic surface began to appear around us, and the book of the world began to slowly open. 33 layers of extraterrestrial sky, the Olympus Mountains, and 18 layers of hell, all of which began to slowly emerge. In our world, countless secret realms emerge at every moment, like parallel worlds waiting for people to explore. These people who enter the secret realm to explore are called the apostles of the secret realm. Keywords of the novel. Plain. Apostle of the secret realm, no pop-ups, plain. Apostle of the secret realm, complete collection download, plain. Apostle of the secret realm, latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Sacrifice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Sacrifice. The setting sun is like blood, and the air is filled with a strong and nauseating smell of blood. Qingfeng looked tired, hunched his body, and tightly grasped a broken dragon head staff with both hands, almost pressing all his weight onto this staff. This is a battlefield of corpses piled up in mountains, bleeding like a river. Remnants with broken blades are stuck in the pool of blood, standing in the wind. In the distance, countless oval-shaped light gates stood quietly, emitting an ever-changing light, and the surroundings were silent. Have we won? Have we repelled those monsters in the secret realm? Qingfeng's eyes were numb and he murmured to himself, but his comrades had already fallen and no one answered. At this moment, in the void, countless figures were gazing at everything on the earth. Their expressions were proud, and their gaze down on the earth was like that of a deity. Poo-poo, countless flickering light gates in the distance began to shatter one by one, turning into sparkling fragments, shooting into the void like brilliant fireworks. Hee. Qingfeng's spirit shook and he lifted his head vigorously, looking at the brilliant fireworks one after another. His numb eyes showed a hint of excitement. Each light gate represents an ectopic surface, and the breakage of the light gate means that the ectopic surface behind the light gate, including everything in the ectopic surface, is completely shattered and no longer exists. Ha. It's successful. Qingfeng's face showed a hint of ecstasy, and he shouted with his last bit of strength. At this moment, he was in a secret realm trial field. As long as he passed the trial assessment, he could transform from an ordinary secret realm disciple to a transcendent, just like those gods who look down on everything in the void. Success, become a transcendent, never perish. If you fail, both your spirit and spirit will be destroyed, and there will be no chance to start over again. This is the final scene that all disciples of the secret realm will face. In this testing ground, there are countless bones of failed apostles everywhere, and there are very few successful ones. Buzz, before the words fell, countless brilliant lights appeared in the distant void, densely covering the entire void. All the light dots began to rotate rapidly, and after a few breaths, they turned into oval-shaped light doors, like mirrors, filling the entire void. The number of light gates appearing this time is 10 times more than before. Countless terrifying creatures swarmed out of the light gate and rushed towards Qingfeng with roars. Qingfeng's expression changed greatly, and a hint of despair appeared on his face. Surprisingly, he still wants to continue. Qingfeng's face showed a look of despair, his heart exhausted, his knees weak, and he was about to kneel in a pool of blood. The intensity of this trial had already exceeded the limit of the 9th level secret realm apostle. The companions who participated in the trial collapsed one by one. They thought they would be the last one to pass the trial, but they didn't expect in an instant. Qingfeng seemed to have thought of something, suddenly lifting his head with a resolute expression in his eyes. Using divine weapons as a guide. Qingfeng let out a heart-wrenching roar, his broken dragon head staff and all the equipment he was wearing shattered into golden dust, forming spiritual talismans scattered around Su Feng's body. Sacrifice with divine souls and offer sacrifices with blood and flesh. Attracting immortals, summoning loyal souls, suppressing demons. Evil. Pup Su Feng spewed out a mouthful of blood, and his entire body began to emit a dazzling light. This is a forbidden spell for A-level forbidden mages, offering summoning. A suicidal forbidden technique that can only be used once in a lifetime. Su Feng sacrificed everything he had, his soul dissipated, his body decayed, and his whole being began to burn, turning into light and heat. As a 9th-level secret realm disciple, he also began to break down hundreds of small and large secret realms one by one, and everything in the secret realm turned into flying ash, disappearing into thin air. In the dark, there was a light sigh. Sacrificing all Su Feng, in the moment before his consciousness fell into darkness, he seemed to see a huge heavenly gate summoned by him, standing tall in the void. In the heavenly gate, countless soldiers wearing armor and wielding sharp blades stood in the clouds, led by a great general holding a pagoda, their eyes shining with divine light, exuding a majestic aura. Still failing. Transcendent, transcendent. Su Feng murmured to himself, becoming a transcendent had become his obsession, and after a moment, his consciousness was completely plunged into darkness. In the darkness, Su Feng seemed to recall the teacher's explanation of the secret realm in high school. The emergence of the secret realm has a profound impact on Blue Star. Discovering a secret realm, for Blue Star, the whole world is delighted because it means that Blue Star does not need to continue developing space technology, but can colonize and obtain resources. But as the number of secret realms increases, if there are 1,000, 10,000, or even 100,000 in the future, it will be a catastrophic disaster for the entire Blue Star and the world. Su Feng, who was in a coma, had a bitter smile on his lips. When he heard this in class, he didn't take it seriously, but now all the teacher's words have been fulfilled. Bang! Su Feng suddenly felt a pain in his head, as if he had been hit by something. I have sacrificed everything, I don't even have a physical body, how could I still feel a headache? Su Feng subconsciously thought to himself, no, I still have consciousness, this. Suddenly opening his eyes, the dazzling white light around him made him feel a sharp pain in his eyes, and he couldn't help but block his slightly narrowed eyes with his hand. Su Feng, last time in the simulation test, your physical fitness was the worst in the class. If you don't work hard, how can you still become a secret realm apostle? In the future, when disasters occur, what do you rely on to protect your loved ones, and friends around you? I don't know how to make progress, I'm still sleeping in class, and tomorrow I'll take you. On the podium, a middle-aged man with eyes on his head, slightly bald, and a slightly chubby body angrily rebuked Su Feng with a heart-wrenching expression. Wang, Teacher Wang. Su Feng's eyes were full of confusion. The person in front of him was actually his high school homeroom teacher, Teacher Wang. Subconsciously looking around, Su Feng was stunned by the spacious and bright classroom, as well as the familiar and unfamiliar faces around him. How could this be? I have already sacrificed everything and my soul has run out of my wits. Why did I appear here? At this moment, the classroom door was suddenly pushed open, and a female teacher hurriedly walked in. She quickly walked over to Teacher Wang, gestured to Su Feng with her eyes, and whispered a few words in Teacher Wang's ear. Teacher Wang's face changed slightly and he said loudly, Su Feng, your father was seriously injured while exploring the secret realm. He is currently being treated at the First People's Hospital. Go and see him quickly. In the taxi, Su Feng looked bewildered and at a loss. Outside the window, there was a bustle of traffic, and the female teacher beside him kept comforting him in a soft voice. However, Su Feng looked indifferent. High school classrooms. Mr. Wang standing on the podium. Father was seriously injured while exploring the secret realm, unconscious, and on the brink of death. There is also a bustling urban scene outside the car window. All of this is deeply hurting Su Feng's nerves. I am reborn. Reborn to the age of 18, the year before I became an apostle in the secret realm. Su Feng's eyes slowly regained their radiance, and a ray of hope bloomed from his pupils. The heavens have given me another chance. Since they have given me a chance to live again, in this life, I must make up for all the regrets of my past life, ascend to the throne, and become the master of the secret realm. Blue stars will not die, and China will not perish. No matter how many secret realms I open, I will make them crawl at my feet. Su Feng clenched his fist and looked at his reflection on the car window, his eyes flashing with a cold and piercing chill. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Initial occupation, seeking collections, seeking recommendation tickets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Initial occupation, seeking collections, seeking recommendation tickets. Songtao First People's Hospital, 3rd Operating Room. Su Nantian lay naked on the operating table, with several doctors wearing masks and white coats, holding surgical knives and looking at a wound on Su Nanchan's shoulder, hesitant to take action. I saw a finger-sized wound on Su Nanchan's left shoulder, which was gray and white with no trace of blood. Slips of cold air emanated from the wound, making the entire operating room feel like a cold winter. The grayish-white color at the wound is slowly eroding towards the surroundings, with the wound at its center. At this point, it has already eroded a fist-sized piece of skin. The surface of the eroded skin seems to be covered with a thin layer of ice. With a gentle touch, the ice, along with the skin below, freezes into debris. In this eerie situation, how dare the doctor take action to treat it? I have been practicing medicine for over 10 years and have never seen this kind of injury before. Don't touch it. When you touch the wound, the surrounding skin will turn into ice residue, and the cold has already penetrated the bone. The patient can't hold on for long. Have you notified the family members? Let them take a last look. This kind of injury is difficult to save. First, put on the ventilator, inject nutrient solution, and try to maintain the patient's vital signs as much as possible. Outside the operating room, a doctor handed several agreements filled with densely packed clauses to Su Feng, who hurriedly arrived, and quickly said, "Here are the surgical agreement and critical illness notice. Sign them quickly and don't delay the surgery. The patient is in a very dangerous situation and may stop breathing at any time. We are currently competing with the Grim Reaper for time." Su Feng took the agreement and signed it without looking at it. He was about to ask something, but suddenly stopped. The familiar scenes from memory once again surge into my heart. Su Feng remembers that he was also like before. After signing the agreement, he had been waiting outside the operating room for a whole night. The next morning, I saw my father Su Nanchan's body pushed out of the operating room. At that time, Su Nanchan's body had turned into an ice sculpture, even frozen together with the operating table. In order not to damage the body, the doctors had to destroy the operating table before lifting Su Nanchan's body down. I remember, my father was exploring a D3 level secret realm called the Temple of the Dead Bones when he was hit on the shoulder by a finger from an arm enshrined in the temple, which was contaminated with the aura of the underworld and ultimately died. Su Feng sat on a chair outside the operating room, covering his head and letting out an uncontrollable moan, with a painful expression on his face. After his mother's death, Su Feng and his father relied on each other for survival. However, today, Su Feng's father, Su Nantian, was seriously injured while exploring a secret realm and was sent to the hospital for a day and a night of rescue. However, the surgery ultimately failed, resulting in Su Feng becoming an orphan. After becoming an apostle of the secret realm, Su Feng regretted more than once. He had the opportunity to save his father, but unfortunately, at that time, he knew nothing about the secret realm and stayed in the hospital all night, wasting his time and missing the only opportunity to save his father. Thinking of this, Su Feng suddenly stood up and ran frantically towards the outside of the hospital. Secret realm, there is an elixir in the secret realm that can cure my father's injuries. Su Feng shouted in his heart, this time, I must save my father. At this moment, Su Feng was extremely grateful to be reborn and have the opportunity to make up for his biggest regret in his heart. Half an hour later, Su Feng returned to Songtao No. 1 Middle School again. At this time, it was class time and there was no one on campus. Through the window, Su Feng saw that in the classroom of his class, the homeroom teacher Wang was explaining knowledge about the secret realm. To explore the secret realm, one must become a secret realm disciple. And to become a secret realm disciple, one must obtain the first initial profession from the secret realm. All of you are extremely lucky. As students of Songtao No. 1 Middle School, you have a chance to enter the C1 level secret realm of Qingfeng Town. In this secret realm, you can provide dozens of initial professions for everyone. Among them, there are 37 E.level professions, 25 D.level professions, and 18 C.level professions. The initial profession is just the beginning of the secret realm apostle, and it does not mean that you will only be this type of profession for your entire life. Even if it is only an E.level profession, you can still advance to A.level or even S.level professions through opportunities and efforts in the future. It all depends on yourself. Below, I will explain in detail how to obtain various professions in Qingfeng Town, as well as a detailed introduction to various professions. First profession, farmer. Teacher Wang, the homeroom teacher, wrote down the first profession in the secret realm of Qingfeng Town on the blackboard. Su Feng passed by the window of the classroom, and the knowledge taught by teacher Wang was extremely important to the students who had not yet become disciples of the secret realm. Everyone stared at the blackboard and took notes seriously. And Su Feng ran towards the largest office building in the school. While running, I searched for all the information about the school's secret place, Qingfeng Town, in my memory. The owner of the C1 level secret realm Qingfeng Town is the principal of this high school, Wei Hong. The reason why the secret realm level is C1 is because the highest combat power in this secret realm is C1, which means that the initial professional level that can be obtained in this secret realm is the highest, which is C. The Qingfeng Town secret realm was originally just the most ordinary level 1 secret realm. The C.level also leaves it without any distinctive features, and in the eyes of true secret realm disciples, it is nothing at all. But 2 years later, a student from Songtao No. 1 High School unexpectedly obtained the initial S.level professional swordsman from this secret realm. At that moment, this originally only C1 level secret realm instantly advanced to S1 level, and gained a great reputation throughout Songtao City. Li Handong, the first-ranked immortal sword in the 1 sword, 2 spears, 3 halberds, and 4 axes, ranking of high.level secret realm disciples in his past life, is the S.level initial professional swordsman obtained from this secret realm. At the same time as obtaining the swordmaster profession, Li Handong also obtained a lower-level spiritual fruit called Jiang fruit from the wine sword immortal. The greatest effect of this spiritual fruit is to expel the cold energy from the underworld that corrodes the body, and it also has some slight effects on improving physical fitness. Ji Yanggua is the best cure for my father's injury, I must get it. This time, I not only want to obtain the Yang fruit, but also the S.level initial profession, swordmaster. If I could obtain this S.level initial profession, would have the opportunity to become the master of the secret realm in the future, instead of just watching the opportunity slip away in front of me like last time. Su Feng ran panting and finally saw the entrance to the secret realm where Songtao No. 1 Middle School belonged. A light blue oval-shaped transmission light gate stood quietly in a remote corner of the southwest corner of the office building. Su Feng ran up to him and rushed in without hesitation. In an instant, Su Feng's figure disappeared into the light gate. After Su Feng entered the teleportation gate, Wei Hong from the principal's office suddenly frowned and looked out the window. Another troublemaker. Each student only has one chance to enter the secret realm. Before obtaining enough information, they rashly break in and have a very low chance of obtaining their initial profession. I see how you can become a secret realm disciple. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Level 1 Secret Realm, Seeking Collection, Seeking Recommendation Tickets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Level 1 Secret Realm, Seeking Collection, Seeking Recommendation Tickets. After rushing into the secret realm of the Light Gate, Su Feng suddenly felt dizzy, as if he had been thrown into a fast-stirring washing machine, his head swelling and almost bursting. Despite closing his eyes tightly, Su Feng could still feel a semi-transparent light curtain in front of him, resembling a waterfall, flowing densely with lines of text. Starting to enter the C1 level secret realm. Starting to digitize the body of the entrant. Detections have found that the physical fitness of the entrant is much lower than the average level of adult males, which may result in being unable to work in certain initial professions due to physical reasons. The difficulty level of this secret realm is C1 level. The time in this secret realm has been adjusted to 3.1 by the controller of this secret realm. Please pay attention to the time difference. Starting to assimilate the entrant into this world. You will automatically master the relevant language and be able to interact smoothly with characters in this world. After leaving this world, you will forget it unless you learn the relevant language skills in this world to permanently retain it. The system detects that you are entering this secret realm for the first time and will provide you with free identity disguise. Entering again will incur a certain cost for identity disguise. After entering the secret realm, you will automatically receive a main quest that you must try your best to complete, otherwise you may face serious punishment. When Su Feng opened his eyes, he found himself lying on a piece of green grass. In the distance was a small town. The tall memorial archway was carved with the three characters Qingfeng Town in concave script. Standing up, Su Feng found himself wearing a set of patched coarse cloth clothes and pants, a pair of grass shoes under his feet, a hair bun on his head, and some weeds on it, looking like an ancient poor people. Su Feng did not leave, but stood in place and waited quietly. In a short while, the green grassland in front of him seemed to be swayed by an invisible hand, with countless grass constantly moving, forming words. Main task. Enter Qingfeng Town, chat with more than 10 indigenous residents, gain a basic understanding of the world Qingfeng Town is located in and its operating rules, and earn 1 or 2 gold coins through your own efforts. Task completion reward. Obtain the identity of an apostle in the secret realm, increase experience points by 5%. Punishment for not being able to complete the task. Cannot re-enter the secret realm again within a month. Su Feng smiled slightly. This secret realm belongs to Principal Wei Hong, and even the main task was released by Wei Hong, which is a non-dangerous main task. In fact, in many secret realms, the punishment for failed main quests is often to erase them, which means that every apostle who enters the secret realm will do their best to complete the main quest, and often there is no time or energy to search for the heart of the secret realm. There are about 12 hours left until my father's passing, which is equivalent to the time in the secret realm. I still have 30.6 hours left. As long as I obtain the Zhi Yang Guo within these 30.6 hours, I can save my father from death. There are actually 2 main tasks in Qingfeng Town. The first is to talk to 10 indigenous residents and obtain some information, and the other is to obtain 1 or 2 gold. Compared to this, the second task will be more difficult. Su Feng clenched his fist, slightly closed his eyes, and searched through all the information in his memory about the secret realm of Qingfeng Town. In fact, for some people, the task of obtaining gold is nothing at all. They will prepare the gold before entering, which is equivalent to completing the task directly as soon as they enter the secret realm. In Su Feng's view, this opportunistic approach is not advisable, and time is tight. Purchasing gold in the real world requires a certain process, which Su Feng cannot afford to delay. Spending an hour in the real world is equivalent to 3 hours in a secret realm, and for others, obtaining 1 or 2 gold in the secret realm is difficult. However, for Su Feng, who has been reborn, it is not a difficult task. If it were someone else, and if they hadn't prepared the gold before entering the secret realm, the only option to complete this task would be to enter Qingfeng town and work part-time, accumulating more than 10 copper coins a day. But for me now, there is a better way. Su Feng muttered to himself, which is also why he dared not prepare the gold and entered the secret realm directly. Qingfeng town is surrounded by green mountains on 3 sides, and a small river over 10 meters wide winds through the outside of Qingfeng town. This small river is the main water source of Qingfeng town, and the water is clear and bottomless. Standing by the river, you can also see many small fish swimming in the water. Su Feng did not enter the town, but first came to the riverbank and stood by the river to start identifying the direction. A man standing in the middle of the river in the distance noticed Su Feng and shouted loudly towards him, "Young man, don't stand on the bank, stay away, be careful not to be washed away by the river." Su Feng turned his head and looked at the big man. He was dressed as a fisherman, wearing a bamboo hat to cover the scorching sun above his head. He was wearing a short-sleeved sweatshirt, and his coarse cloth pants were rolled up to his thighs. He held a steel fork in his hand and a bamboo basket hanging from his waist. He stood barefoot in the river water. Seeing Su Feng looking towards him, the fisherman waved his hand again, gesturing for Su Feng to step back. Su Feng smiled and walked up to the fisherman, shouting, "Uncle, can the fish in the river be sold for money?" The fisherman turned to look at Su Feng, his mouth slightly curled up, shook his head and said with a smile, "If you don't sell money, your family is poor. It's a bit fishy to go home and cook soup." As soon as Su Feng finished speaking, a semi-transparent light curtain suddenly appeared in front of him, which read, "You have spoken to an indigenous resident of Qingfeng Town's secret realm, with a completion rate of 1/10, you have a harmonious conversation with the fisherman in Qingfeng Town, and the fisherman's favorability towards you has increased by 2 points. You have activated the reputation of Qingfeng Town, and at this time, your reputation in Qingfeng Town is indifferent at 120/1000, note. Reputation can be divided into hatred, hostility, indifference, friendliness, reverence, and worship." Su Feng couldn't help but smile when he saw the line in front of him. He waved his hand at the fisherman and said, "Uncle, take your time fishing, I'll go somewhere else." The fisherman fixed his gaze on the river and said without lifting his head, "Be careful not to see that this river is not deep, but the water flow is very fast. Just stand by the shore and play, don't go into the water." "Got it, goodbye uncle." Su Feng waved his hand to the fisherman and continued upstream along the riverbank. Noticing Su Feng's departure, the fisherman slowly lifted his head with a sharp gaze, staring at his back until he could no longer see Su Feng's figure. He then bent down again and continued to gaze at the water surface, ignoring the small fish swimming in front of him, but tightly fixed his gaze on the ripples of the water. Su Feng knew that from this fisherman who was fishing, he could obtain the initial profession of fisherman. Although the initial profession of fisherman was only an E+ level life profession, if he changed jobs in the future, he would have the opportunity to become a B. level profession called pirate. In his past life, there was a secret realm disciple who obtained the pirate profession. After completing the level and mastering a special secret realm, he used the resources provided by this secret realm to ultimately obtain the S. level profession, King of the Seven Seas. As long as he was on the sea, almost no one could compete with him. And Su Feng also understood in his heart that this fisherman was fishing in the river not for ordinary small fish, but for a type of top-grade fish called golden line fish. This type of fish has only fingers thick and thin, and a golden stripe on its spine. It swims very fast and is difficult to catch. But the flesh of the gold thread fish is crispy and soft, and if cooked in soup, it tastes extremely delicious. One can sell for 5 taels of silver. 10 taels of silver are equivalent to 1 or 2 pieces of gold. In other words, as long as Su Feng can catch 2 goldfish, the main task can also be completed. However, there are very few goldfish in this river, and their speed is extremely fast. They do not have certain fishing skills, and even if they are discovered, they may not be able to be caught. In addition, once caught by a fisherman, they will definitely be driven away. In the event of a conflict, let alone whether Su Feng's current physical fitness can be a match for the fisherman, it is because he has a bad relationship with the fisherman, which affects his reputation in Qingfeng town and is extremely cost-effective. In addition to completing the main quest, Su Feng also needs to obtain the legendary S-level initial profession and the Zhiyang fruit. To obtain it, he needs to make a lot of preparations in the early stages and requires a lot of money. Capturing the golden striped fish cannot meet this requirement. After walking upstream along the riverbank for over an hour, Su Feng finally reached the source of the river. This river is actually an underground river, flowing out from a mountain range near Qingfeng town. Standing on a huge rock and watching the gurgling river water in the deep pool below, Su Feng's face showed a brilliant smile. That's it, the quickest place to get money in the secret realm of Qingfeng town. I should be the first to dig here, I don't know how much I'll get, it's really exciting. Su Feng smiled and jumped up high, then raised his hands above his head, his body resembling a swimming fish, and plunged into the pool with a fierce thrust. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Jinzhuzi, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Jinzhuzi. The clear pool water was icy and piercing, with Su Feng's physical fitness lower than the average adult male. As soon as he entered the water, he felt numb in his hands and feet, and his body slowly became stiff. I miscalculated. I didn't expect my physical fitness to be so poor that even diving would be in danger of drowning. Su Feng's heart sank, but he didn't panic. Instead, he curled up his limbs and hugged them tightly, his body sinking towards the bottom of the pool like a stone. Fortunately, this pool was not deep, at most 3 or 4 meters deeper than the small river ahead. Su Feng groped and sank into the bottom of the pool, immediately opening his eyes and looking around. Quickly, he noticed a golden light shining in a corner, his limbs moving as Su Feng swam towards the direction emitting the golden light. Only when he arrived did he see a pile of cast small gold ingots in this corner, each weighing 1 or 2. After grabbing 2, Su Feng kicked his legs towards the mud and sand at the bottom of the pond, and his body rushed up towards the water surface. Cough cough cough. Su Feng climbed up from the pool in a disheveled state. As soon as he landed, he lay flat on all fours, his chest constantly heaving and panting. The sun was shining brightly, and Su Feng lay in the scorching sun for a long time before regaining his strength. He looked at the 2 golden ingots thrown aside when he landed next to him, shining with golden light in the sunlight. Su Feng couldn't help but laugh. This pool of water is connected to a small river on one end, and an underground river deep into the Daqing Mountains on the other end. The entire river water actually flows up from the underground river. There is a small space next to the underground river, which Wei Hong has always regarded as his own small treasury. All the students who complete the main task and pay the 1 or 2 gold coins will be arranged by Wei Hong to cast into small gold ingots, all of which are hidden in the mountains. That is actually a place where Wei Hong stores his personal belongings. In fact, as long as the disciples of 1 or 2 secret realms have mastered them, they will have the same liking as Wei Hong, developing 1 or 2 storage places for miscellaneous items in the secret realms they control. Among the hundreds of secret realms that Su Feng initially controlled, at least a dozen of them had similar storage spaces, collecting treasures obtained by Su Feng. Therefore, for the apostles of the secret realm, excavating the secrets of the fallen apostles is also a very attractive thing. Not to mention inheriting the mantle, even obtaining some of the apostles' daily collections can make a small fortune. Wei Hong receives a large amount of gold every year from the secret realm of Qingfeng town, and he also hides all of this gold next to the underground river in the mountains. Over time, gold will roll into the river and be washed away to the pond. In the future, more and more gold will be washed into the river. Back then, it was because a student was fishing in the river in order to obtain the initial profession of fisherman. Unexpectedly, they found a golden ingot and happily passed on the news to their classmates. Most students thought there was a gold mine in Daqing Mountain, which was washed out from the gold mine. But one of the students noticed that there were traces of casting on these golden ingots. Like Su Feng, they continued to follow the river upstream and arrived at this pond. They went down and made a fortune. After these students left the secret realm, this news also spread within the school, and more students began to choose shortcuts and run to this pond to find the golden ingot. After learning about this, Principal Wei Hong didn't pay much attention. After all, compared to his small treasury, those gold ingots that occasionally scattered into the underground river and washed into the pond were not even a drop in the bucket. Since such a thing has happened, why not treat this pond water as an adventure site? After all, not every time you enter, there will be gold ingots washed out from the underground river. Getting gold from the pond water still depends on luck. Later on, a brave student heard about this and came up with the idea of Principal Wei Hong's small vault. He secretly bought a set of single-person diving equipment and entered the secret realm. He wanted to dive into the underground river through the pool water and enter Principal Wei Hong's small vault, but it turned out that he really managed to get inside. But to my surprise, Principal Wei Hong's small treasury was guarded by a formation. Once approached, it would trigger a formation counterattack, causing the student to be seriously injured by the formation. If Principal Wei Hong had not been at school at the time and sensed that the formation had been triggered, he would have entered a secret realm and saved the student. This student would probably have become the first person to die in the school's secret realm, recorded in school history. Since then, Principal Wei Hong has moved his small treasury to a different location. There has never been a golden ingot in this pond or river again, but this incident has spread in Songtao No. 1 Middle School and is widely regarded as a campus legend. After lying on the riverbank for a long time, Su Feng finally slowly recovered. Looking at the 2 gold ingots weighing 1 or 2, Su Feng rubbed his still slightly numb wrist, stood up, and once again jumped into the pool. It wasn't until the sun was slightly west that Su Feng finally stopped salvaging the golden ingots. It wasn't because the golden ingots at the bottom of the pond had been salvaged completely, or because Su Feng's plan required a lot of money, but because the feeling of getting something for nothing was too overwhelming, making Su Feng feel like he couldn't stop. Enough, we can't catch any more. Su Feng gasped for breath and looked at the 8 or 9 golden ingots by the shore, with a bitter smile on his face. I don't have the power to bind chickens in my hands now, and I don't have any stored spiritual weapons on my body. Carrying so many golden ingots into the town is like a child walking in the bustling city with treasures in hand. It's really too dangerous. Su Feng thought to himself. Looking at the golden ingots on the ground, Su Feng gritted his teeth and showed a hesitant expression on his face. After a moment, he seemed to understand something and a relieved smile appeared on his face. After being reborn, my willpower seems to have become like that of an ordinary person. Just a few golden poems made me hesitate. Su Feng bent down and only took 3 gold ingots into his arms, then lifted his foot and kicked all the remaining gold ingots into the water. To become an excellent apostle of the secret realm, one must follow a principle that everything must serve the purpose. If a discovered treasure becomes a disadvantageous factor affecting the achievement of the goal, one must not hesitate to discard it. Even sacred artifacts must follow this principle, let alone a few gold ingots that will have little value in the future. Su Feng muttered to himself. Watching Jinzhuzi slowly sink into the bottom of the pond, Su Feng turned around without hesitation and walked towards the direction where Qingfeng town was located. After Su Feng left, a quarter of an hour later, a thin and small figure emerged from the mountains and forests. The man was only 1.56 meters tall, wearing a black tight-fitting suit, covered in a patched long shirt, with 2 beards, and came to the edge of the pool. Looking in the direction Su Feng was leaving, he couldn't help but laugh. Jia, what a sour scholar. The gold you have received is just discarded for nothing, it's really a waste. Let your uncle Qingfeng spend these little cuties on your behalf. After speaking, the man jumped into the pool with a leap. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Buying meat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Buying meat. Su Feng walked into Qingfeng town carrying 3 golden ingots. It is now mid-afternoon, with the sun slightly west, but it is still very hot, casting a large amount of white and shimmering sunlight. Su Feng stood on the street paved with bluestone slabs, looking at the buildings on both sides that clearly had the style of a water town in Jiangnan, as well as the residents wearing ancient costumes around him. Suddenly, he felt like he had traveled back to the ancient Jiangnan town. After calming down, Su Feng couldn't help but laugh. At first, he only entered Qingfeng town once. Like other classmates, he worked part-time in Qingfeng town to earn money, earning dozens of copper coins every day. Apart from food and accommodation, he could save very little money. Watching other classmates start their careers and earn money much faster, Su Feng was envious, but he didn't want to work in an ordinary profession. One day, Su Feng finished his work and was ready to go back to rest when he saw a middle-aged man playing tricks on the street. He was curious and gathered around to take a look. This person's trick was very exciting, until everyone left and the middle-aged man was also preparing to finish. Su Feng still felt unsatisfied and finally rewarded him with all the copper coins on his body. Unexpectedly, by chance, I obtained the C-level initial profession of Playmaster. The first requirement for obtaining the profession of juggler is to constantly watch this middle-aged man perform, the last to leave, and the other requirement is to give him all the money on his body. If these 2 conditions are met, the middle-aged man will teach you the initial profession of juggler. The reason for choosing this profession is simply that in the classroom, the teacher did not mention this initial profession when explaining the Qingfeng town's secret realm, which made Su Feng feel very special. Unexpectedly, as Su Feng walked along, he advanced from a C-level initial profession to an A-level forbidden mage. At the beginning, the comedian was not very strong, and Su Feng also had a bumpy journey and finally came to the end. Any initial profession may eventually grow into an S-level profession, but most people cannot wait until then and fall halfway. I thought I had forgotten all of this, but I didn't expect to remember so deeply. Su Feng looked at the familiar scene in front of him and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Su Feng walked along the street for over 100 meters, hesitated at a fork in the road, and continued on to reach the only tavern in Qingfeng town, where he could obtain the necessary mission items for the initial profession of sword master. Turning left is to go to a meat shop. Li Handong, who had obtained an S-level initial profession, entered the secret realm of Qingfeng town to work and earn wages at this meat shop, while also wanting to obtain a C+ level initial profession called butcher. The butcher is an initial profession that combines life and combat professions. After obtaining it, one can obtain both the life skill, slaughter, and the combat skill, pig slaying knife technique, which immediately gives them combat power. Unlike Su Feng, who initially obtained the title of Playmaster, although they were all C-level professions, their combat power was almost zero, but they made significant achievements in confusing enemies and escaping. Li Handong once wrote a memoir, telling the detailed process of obtaining the initial S-level professional swordsman. Initially, he obtained a high-quality wild boar hind leg because he completed a task assigned to him by the butcher. This high-quality wild boar hind leg is most suitable for barbecue. If consumed with alcohol, it can permanently enhance the consumer's physical strength by 1.3 points. The entire Qingfeng town only sells liquor at Qingfeng Tavern, and usually only sells one type of liquor called Qingfeng Zui. However, if you are willing to pay a large price, you can also buy a top-quality liquor called Qingfeng Jade liquid. In order to maximize his physical strength, Li Handong gritted his teeth and bought Qingfeng Jade liquid. He took advantage of the evening off work and ran alone to the Duqing mountain outside the town to have a barbecue, starting to drink and eat meat. As a result, due to the overflowing aroma of wine, a middle-aged man claiming to be the wine sword immortal was attracted. Li Handong invited the man to drink and eat meat together. After drinking, the man taught Li Handong the S-level initial profession of sword master. You should know that any S-level initial profession has uniqueness. Li Handong inherited the sword master profession, and others will no longer be able to obtain this initial profession, unlike initial professions of other levels that can be obtained repeatedly. According to Li Handong's description, the main reason for obtaining the initial profession of sword master was the jar of Qingfeng Jade liquid. As for the barbecue made from the hind legs of the high-quality wild boar, because the wine sword fairy did not taste a bite from beginning to end, Li Handong suspected that the barbecue made from the hind legs of the high-quality wild boar was not a prerequisite for obtaining the profession of sword master. The prerequisites for obtaining each initial profession are different, and only by meeting these conditions can the corresponding profession be inherited. Most of the time, for an unfamiliar initial profession, in order to obtain it, it is necessary to rely on guessing and searching for traces between the words and lines from the instructor. But there are also people like Li Handong who rely on luck and accidentally obtain it, and this situation is not uncommon. It belongs to those who intentionally plant flowers but do not bloom, and those who unintentionally plant willows to create shade, which is simply unreasonable. Among the top 10 Secret Realm apostles in their past lives, 7 of them were obtained as S-level initial professions. Most of them were obtained by chance, and only 2 of them spent a lot of manpower and material resources based on clues. They eliminated each one and determined the inheritance conditions, ultimately obtaining S-level initial professions. Su Feng hesitated for a moment, but ultimately decided to go to the meat shop first. Even though the wine sword immortal did not eat grilled meat, there was only one chance. Su Feng felt that it was best to replicate the entire process obtained by Li Handong as perfectly as possible, without making any mistakes. I couldn't have worked at a meat shop like Li Handong, waiting for the butcher to release the task to me. The quickest way to obtain that high-quality wild boar hind leg was to spend a lot of money on it. Su Feng thought to himself. Quickly, Su Feng arrived at the only meat shop in Qingfeng town. It was a street-facing door shop with only 7 or 8 square meters. There was a table horizontally at the entrance, with several pieces of pork hanging on it. There were also some pork belly strips hanging on the table. As soon as he approached, he could smell a faint smell of fishy smell. Behind the case, the butcher lay on a rocking chair, holding a fan in his hand. He gently shook the rocking chair and closed his eyes to rest, while holding the fan and fanning himself incessantly. "Boss, buy meat." Su Feng stood in front of the shop and shouted loudly. The butcher opened his eyes, glanced at Su Feng, and slowly stood up. When the butcher lay on the rocking chair, he didn't even notice his figure. When he stood up, he realized that this person had a wide face, wide ears, a hint of ferocity between his eyebrows and eyes, and a burly and tall figure. His arms were as thick as Su Feng's thighs, making him look fat, but in fact, his whole body was covered in sturdy muscles. The butcher walked up to the table, his burly figure carrying a strong wind, and a fierce aura rushed towards him. "How much and what parts do you need?" the butcher asked in a muffled voice. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Tiger Bone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Tiger Bone. Those who have entered the secret realm of Qingfeng Town know that there are 3 great masters in Qingfeng Town. One of them is the owner of Qingfeng Martial Arts School, Lu Renfeng, who is skilled in a set of beast fist. The second is Escort Huang from the escort agency, who appears to be skilled in a set of gossip sticks, but in reality, he is an expert in using guns. The last person was a school official in the Huzhen Guard, wielding a willow swallow sword. The needle could not penetrate and the water could not be splashed, only a white and dazzling blade light could be seen. The entire Huzhen Guard could be said to be invincible. These 3 people are all experts in the secret realm of Qingfeng Town, and from them, they can all obtain C-level initial professions. But only those who truly understand the secret realm of Qingfeng town know that the most powerful person in the entire town is actually the butcher in front of Su Feng. His pig-killing knife weighs 38 pounds, and a set of C+ level pig-killing knife techniques is the highest level of martial arts in the entire town. In his past life, a student had learned this knife technique, and what impressed Su Feng the most was the last move in this set of knife techniques. He was able to throw the 38-pound bone-chopping knife in his hand as a hidden weapon, and within 5 meters, he could hit almost 100 shots. Once hit, it can immediately make the opponent lose their combat ability, with great power. Su Feng suspected that when Li Handong went to work at a meat shop, he actually intended to obtain the initial profession of butcher and learn this powerful martial arts skill. How much do you want? Which part of the meat do you want? The butcher asked loudly with copper bell-sized eyes, staring at Su Feng. There is only one meat shop in Qingfeng town, but the business is mediocre. The main reason is that the butcher in front of him has a fierce expression on his face, and when he asks questions, he feels like he is going to eat people. Therefore, many people would rather walk more to a hunter's house outside the town to buy game than come to a meat shop to buy these cheap dolphin meat. Su Feng glanced at the note and the few pieces of meat hanging on it, with a disdainful expression on his face, and said, "Boss, the meat here is average. Do you have any better ones?" "Humph." The butcher snorted coldly, and a thick, 1-foot-long bone-chopping knife was thrown onto the table by the butcher. With a loud thud, it plunged into the table. Su Feng's heart skipped a beat. The blade of this bone-chopping knife was longer than his forearm, with a thick back and a thin blade. Before he could approach it, he felt a piercing chill on his face. It was like a great weapon. Items in the spiritual realm are classified into mortal, spiritual, magical, and sacred according to their level. It is said that there are divine and immortal artifacts on top of sacred objects, and each level is divided into 3 levels: upper, middle, and lower. The best item Su Feng obtained in his past life was only a lower-grade dragon staff, which was sacrificed along with all his equipment in the final battle. As for the divine and immortal artifacts, Su Feng had never encountered them before, only occasionally heard that a lucky secret realm disciple had obtained them. The butcher's bone-chopping knife in front of me, even if it's not a spiritual weapon, is probably the top grade among ordinary weapons. It can already be considered a remarkable weapon in the first-level secret realm. Little one, are you not here to buy meat, but to entertain yourself? The butcher stared at him, holding onto the table with both hands, and poked his upper body out, staring fiercely at Su Feng. With such a fierce appearance, if it were someone else, he would probably collapse to the ground in fear. However, Su Feng took out a golden ingot from his arms and gently placed it on the table. "Boss, I can entertain you, but gold won't entertain you." Su Feng smiled and said, "I have already taken out the money, it depends on whether the boss has good goods. If you don't have it here, then I'll have to go to the hunter outside the town to see." Upon hearing Su Feng mention the hunter outside the town, a fierce expression flashed in the butcher's eyes. He then lowered his head to look at the golden ingot on the table and snorted coldly, "Wait." After speaking, the butcher turned around and left the shop, lifted the curtain, and walked towards the backyard. These shops in Qingfeng town faced the street, with one room facing the street being a shop, followed by a small courtyard and several bungalows for the owner's daily life and rest. Su Feng stood patiently in front of the shop, waiting for a moment. In no time, the butcher surprisingly walked out carrying a pork chop. As the meat was placed on the table, with a loud bang, there was a muffled sound, causing the table to bend slightly. Su Feng's heart skipped a beat and he thought to himself, "Is this pork chop? It's like a piece of hard iron." I originally thought the butcher would take out the boutique wild boar hind legs, but to my surprise, he brought out a rib steak. Su Feng's eyebrows furrowed slightly. "Hey, little one, why are you still not satisfied?" The butcher saw Su Feng frown and a hint of mockery appeared on his face, saying, "Do you know what kind of meat this is?" Su Feng smelled a faint fishy smell, but this smell was completely different from that of dolphin meat. It didn't make people feel nauseous after smelling it for a long time, but instead had a faint and fragrant taste. What kind of meat is this? Su Feng raised his eyebrows and felt like he had bought something good. This pork chop was probably even more precious than the boutique wild boar hind legs that Li Handong had obtained. The butcher grinned and said, "Tiger meat. How are you, haven't you seen it before? You can only buy deer meat and wild pheasants at most when you go to that hunter's place. Ask him, dare you go hunting tigers?" The butcher's tone was filled with contempt for the hunters outside the town. Su Feng felt a sense of joy in his heart. This tiger meat was obviously much more precious than wild boar meat. If wild boar meat was a prerequisite for attracting the wine sword immortal, then tiger meat would not be enough. Perhaps more treasures could be obtained from the wine sword immortal. Okay, that's it. Su Feng nodded and said. 1 or 2 gold, 5 pounds of tiger meat. Both the young and the old are honest. If you buy it, you can leave your hands. Each person only has one chance to buy it. The butcher said, grabbing the chopping knife on the table and spinning it in his hand for a few times. Before Su Feng could react, he struck it between his ribs. What, 1 or 2 gold won't buy you this whole fan? Su Feng asked in surprise as he watched the butcher remove only 2 ribs and put away the rest. Oh, what do you think this is? The meat of the king of beasts, 1 or 2 gold, sells you 5 pounds, which is already considered very cheap. The butcher shouted loudly with his eyes wide open, if it weren't for today's purpose of giving you a better understanding of who sells the best meat in Qingfeng town, I wouldn't even want to take out this meat. Su Feng looked at these 2 1-foot-long ribs and couldn't help but twitch slightly at the corner of his mouth. I originally planned to buy it all and bring it back to make soup for my father to nourish my body, but now it seems that this is only 1 portion at most. Reaching out and grabbing these 2 tiger bones, it was indeed heavy in my hand, weighing at least twice as much as ordinary pig ribs. Normally, 2 pig ribs weigh up to 2 pounds, but if it were replaced with tiger bones, the weight would be 5 pounds. As Su Feng grabbed the tiger bones, the attributes of these 2 tiger bones naturally appeared in Su Feng's eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Fantastic Masterpieces. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Fantastic Masterpieces. As Su Feng grabbed 2 tiger bones, his attributes naturally appeared in his eyes. A few lines of light blue font appeared on top of the tiger bones, like annotations in a game. Excellent tiger ribs, ultimate grade, cooking ingredients, cooking methods, soup making. Eating effect. Permanently increases one's own attribute strength by 1 point, stamina by 2 points, and spirit by 2 points. There is a certain chance to improve cultivation talent. Each person can only consume them once. The amount consumed is not less than 50 grams. Surprisingly, it is a top-notch cooking material from the mortal realm. Su Feng's eyes lit up. Before his rebirth, as an A-level forbidden spell mage, Su Feng had never seen anything other than divine or immortal level items, and he had seen countless items of the remaining level. Any grade can be divided into 3 levels: top, middle, and bottom. However, in addition to the 3rd level, there is another quality that is the ultimate in front of us. The called ultimate refers to the meaning of reaching the pinnacle and reaching the pinnacle. The ultimate in the mortal realm means that there is no better quality or higher attribute than it in the mortal realm. From the attribute introduction, it can also be seen that the attributes of this tiger rib are already on par with some materials of lower level spiritual level. Being able to obtain such attribute cooking materials in this 1st level secret realm can only be said that Su Feng's luck has already exploded. Boss, can I buy more? Without saying a word, Su Feng took out the 2 remaining golden ingots from his pocket and placed them on the table. If I had known there were top-quality tiger meat for sale here, those golden poems, I mean I wouldn't have kicked them into the water. Su Feng felt regretful in his heart. Humph, one person only has one chance to buy. The butcher said coldly, even if others want to buy, it depends on my mood. Let's go quickly, don't stand here and delay my business. Boss, could you please chop it for me? Su Feng said with a smiling face. Tiger bones are as hard as iron, and cannot be chopped open with ordinary iron. Since you want to make soup, it is natural to chop them into small pieces to save time. Humph, wait. The butcher grabbed the tiger bone back, waved his bone-chopping knife, and, honk 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 honk, chopped it into a pile of small pieces. He also thoughtfully pulled a lotus leaf, wrapped the tiger bone, tied it tightly with a thin rope, and threw it onto the table. He waved his hand towards Su Feng and returned to the lounge chair to rest on his own. You have spoken to an indigenous resident of Qingfeng Town's secret realm, with a completion rate of 2 out of 10, you have a good deal with the butcher in Qingfeng Town, and the butcher's favorability towards you has increased by 5 points. You have activated the reputation of Qingfeng Town, and at this time, your reputation in Qingfeng Town is indifferent 180/1000, carrying a pack of tiger bones. Su Feng walked towards the only tavern in the town. On the way, Su Feng saw a middle-aged man performing on the street. He was dressed in coarse cloth, with a face full of wind and frost, and his eyes were all haggard. At this moment, several fireballs were spinning around the man's side, and the exciting performance caused several onlookers to applaud and cheer incessantly. Su Feng was the initial professional playwright he obtained from this person, but when he saw him again after his rebirth, he couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. The population of Qingfeng Town is not large, and most people are busy with their daily lives. How do they have free time to watch acrobatics for leisure? Seeing only a few children watching around him now, one can see the comedian's predicament, and his life is not going well. Su Feng walked up to him and stood quietly for a moment, watching as even with only a few children in the audience, the performers were working hard to perform. Su Feng couldn't help but feel 1,000 emotions in his heart. Clanging throwing a golden poem into a basket with only a few copper plates, Su Feng wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes and turned around to leave quickly. This is gold. The performer's startled cry came from behind. Thank you for your reward. The performer shouted at Su Feng's back with all his strength. At this moment, the main task cannot be completed. Su Feng gradually walked away, thinking to himself, let's take it as a tribute to the mentor-disciple relationship we once had. In this life, I can never become a playwright again. You have communicated with an indigenous resident of Qingfeng Town's secret realm, with a completion rate of 3/10, you appreciate the performance of the Qingfeng Town performer very much, and rewarded you with 1 or 2 gold coins. The performer is very grateful to you, and your liking has increased by 30 points. You have activated the reputation of Qingfeng Town, and at this time, your reputation of Qingfeng Town is indifferent 500/1000. Su Feng arrived at the only tavern in Qingfeng Town, Qingfeng Tavern. At this moment it was not yet time for dinner, and the tavern looked a bit deserted. At the entrance, a young man dressed in the attire of a shop assistant, with a white towel draped over his shoulder, was dozing off against the doorpost, his head tapping bit by bit. Su Feng glanced at the waiter and walked straight into the tavern. The entire lobby was empty, with only the shopkeeper behind the counter, calculating and flipping through the books. Upon seeing Su Feng, the shopkeeper was taken aback and immediately glanced at the entrance, coughing heavily. The shop assistant at the door suddenly woke up and looked towards the lobby. When he saw Su Feng, he hurriedly rushed forward, grabbed the white towel on his shoulder, and wiped it on the table where Su Feng sat. Oh my God, Grandpa! Little Bai has a pair of dog eyes and didn't see Grandpa come in, neglecting Grandpa. Damn it, damn it! The shopkeeper lightly slapped his cheek twice and peeked at Su Feng. Okay. Go and invite the shopkeeper over. I have something to say, Su Feng smiled and waved his hand. Hey, alright, Grandpa, please sit down a moment and I'll go talk to the shopkeeper. The waiter's face was full of smiles, and his heart, which he had been carrying, finally fell back into his stomach. Shop assistant, also known as running errands, is considered a relatively humble profession in the town and is looked down upon by people. If it were for another demanding customer today, he wouldn't be so easily spared. You have communicated with an indigenous resident of Qingfeng town's secret realm, with a completion rate of 4/10, you don't hold the waiter accountable for any minor mistakes. The waiter is very grateful to you, and his favorability has increased by 20 points. You have activated the reputation of Qingfeng town, and at this time, your reputation of Qingfeng town is indifferent at 600/1000. Shop assistant is also one of the initial professions that can be obtained in Qingfeng town, but it is the lowest level E.level initial profession, and no student is willing to inherit it. But Su Feng knew that the initial lower limit of the shop assistant profession was very low, but if obtained, there was a high chance of obtaining the A+ level profession, Rogue Saint, in an A.level secret realm called Tongfu in the future. Compared to other initial professions that require gradual improvement, it can be said that they have achieved great success step by step. When it comes to the potential of the initial profession, in Su Feng's view, even a C+ level butcher or a C level boxer is far inferior to the initial profession of the shop assistant running errands in front of him, except for an S.level swordsman. After listening to the waiter's narration, the tavern shopkeeper first glared fiercely at him, then slowly put away the account book and walked to Su Feng's desk. He arched his hand and smiled, saying, "The staff in the shop neglected the distinguished guest. I will compensate you for it here." After speaking, the shopkeeper arched his hand towards Su Feng and bowed deeply. Su Feng quickly jumped up, dodged to the side, and bowed back, saying, "Shopkeeper, it's over, it's over. It's not a problem, it's not a problem." The shopkeeper stood up straight and said with a smile on his face, "I don't know if the distinguished guest is looking for me. What's the point?" Su Feng smiled slightly and took out the last golden ingot from his arms, placing it on the table. He said, "Shopkeeper, I heard that there is a beautiful wine called Qingfeng Yuye in your tavern. It is refreshing and sweet, and it is a rare wine. Today, I would like to come and see it. I wonder if the person in charge of the cabinet may make my wish come true." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Qingfeng Jade Liquid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Qingfeng Jade Liquid, Qingfeng Yuye. The shopkeeper furrowed his brows slightly and showed a pensive expression on his face. Su Feng's heart sank. This Qingfeng Jade Liquid is a necessary prerequisite for inheriting the Sword Master. If he cannot obtain a jar of Qingfeng Jade Liquid, how can he attract the attention of the Wine Sword Immortal? "Boss, I have been in close contact with this Qingfeng Jade Liquid for a long time. Please make sure to fulfill my wish, shopkeeper." Su Feng then handed over the golden ingot on the table and continued, "I only want to buy 1 jar. If the money is not enough, the shopkeeper will just give me a price, and I will try my best to raise enough money." After listening, the shopkeeper quickly waved his hand and said, "No matter how precious Qingfeng Jade Liquid is, it is just a local wine brewed in our own small tavern. It is difficult to reach the level of elegance. Buying a jar of Qingfeng Jade Liquid with 1 or 2 gold coins is more than enough, but..." Seeing the embarrassed expression on the shopkeeper's face, Su Feng knew that this Qingfeng Jade Liquid would definitely not be so easy to buy. He immediately asked, "If the shopkeeper has any requirements, but it doesn't matter. This esteemed guest, if you had spent 1 or 2 gold to buy only 1 jar of Qingfeng Jade Liquid in the past, or in a few months, there would have been no problem, but..." The shopkeeper looked at the door and whispered, "These days, a bandit named Qingfeng has come to the town and stole many wealthy households. The town lord's office has issued an official letter asking the town guards to capture him within a specified time limit. In order to attract this bandit, the town guards have requisitioned all the Qingfeng jade liquid in the small shop. The shopkeeper's face showed a hint of helplessness as he captured a bandit and even requisitioned fine wine from the tavern. This absurd act was unheard of. It's not enough to give them a clear breeze and get drunk. We must recruit clear breeze and jade liquid. The shopkeeper sighed and said, not only did we recruit small shops, but also dozens of high-quality silk from the silk shop across the street, more than 10 pieces of gold and silver jewelry from the jewelry store across the street, and over 100 stones of refined rice from the grain shop. Upon hearing this, Su Feng suddenly understood that the town guard was probably using chicken feathers as a warning arrow to plunder and demand property in the town. Shopkeeper, what do you mean? Su Feng's face showed a hint of doubt. He shouldn't have let himself break into the town guard and snatch back all the fine wine he had ordered, right? Is it because I entered at the wrong time and the difficulty of the task increased? No, it shouldn't. Although obtaining the initial task is highly arbitrary, it is clearly a deadly task. How could someone who has not yet obtained the initial profession complete it? Su Feng thought to himself. Dear customer, if you want Qingfeng jade liquid, first prepare all the materials for brewing it for me. As long as you can prepare all the materials for me, I can make you drink Qingfeng jade liquid today. The shopkeeper stared at Su Feng and whispered. Originally, it was preparing materials. I thought I was going to break into the town guard at night. Su Feng breathed a sigh of relief and nodded, asking, Shopkeeper, I don't know what materials you need. Tell me, I'll go collect them for you. As soon as the shopkeeper heard this, his face lit up with joy. He grabbed Su Feng's hands and looked overjoyed. He quickly said, Ha ha ha, if that's the case, thank you very much to your esteemed guest. Come, I have a detailed list here, please take a look. After speaking, the shopkeeper took out a long bill from his pocket and handed it to Su Feng. Su Feng glanced at him and immediately took a deep breath of air. He couldn't help but ask, do you need so many materials? There are 50 or 60 types of materials on this list alone. Leaving aside the difficulty of collecting each one, it is impossible to complete it in just 1 or 2 days, that's too much. Su Feng frowned. The shopkeeper glanced at Su Feng's face, coughed twice, and pointed to the 3 materials on the list, saying, actually, all the other materials are already prepared in the small shop, and now only these 3 are missing. As long as you can bring them, a jar of Qingfeng jade liquid will definitely be fine. Su Feng looked at the 3 materials pointed out by the shopkeeper. 1 goldfish, 1 pound tiger bone, 1 pound long-stemmed spirit rice, Fanjia Jipin. Although I haven't seen this lingmi before, I believe it must also be a Fanjia Jipin. I didn't expect that brewing a Qingfeng jade liquid would require so many Fanjia Jipin ingredients. Su Feng looked at the list with his teeth in his mouth, looking puzzled. Tiger bones are easy to say, just carry 5 pounds in your arms. It doesn't matter if you give him 1 pound, and it's also easy to say that even if you exchange Qingfeng jade liquid with these materials, there's no need for gold. If you give birth to 1 or 2, you can buy 1, and there's still 5 taels of silver left. But I don't know if 5 taels of silver is enough to buy this long-stemmed spirit rice. Su Feng pondered for a moment, feeling that although this task was somewhat difficult for him, it was not without a clue, and there was no way. Okay, shopkeeper, then we've agreed. I'll bring these 3 materials back and you'll give me a jar of Qingfeng jade liquid. Su Feng patted his thigh and gritted his teeth. No problem, as long as the distinguished guest can bring these 3 materials, I will present a jar of Qingfeng jade liquid on the spot. The shopkeeper patted his chest and agreed. Okay, it's a deal. It's a deal. You have spoken to an indigenous resident of Qingfeng Town's secret realm, with a completion rate of 5/10, you have a good conversation with the owner of Qingfeng Town Tavern and obtained a task from him. The tavern owner's favorability towards you has increased by 3 points. You have activated the reputation of Qingfeng Town, and at this point, your reputation of Qingfeng Town is indifferent 720/1000. Su Feng first ran to the river and spent 5 taels of silver to buy a goldfish from the fisherman. Then he hurriedly ran towards the only grain shop in the town. As soon as he ran to the entrance of the grain shop, Su Feng heard loud reprimands coming from inside. "Where's the little flour? Why is it missing? What do you eat? It's not good to take care of a child. What's the use of you? Go out and look for everyone. If you can't find Xiaohua, you don't have to come back. Get out of here." Angry roars came from the grain shop, and soon a group of people walked out of the shop, running towards various corners of the town with a panicked expression. At the entrance of the grain shop, a fat man with a bulky figure and a gorgeous silk long shirt sat on the threshold, covering his face with both hands and crying softly. Tears seeped out from his little carrot-like fingers, looking very miserable. "Xiaohua, my daughter, where have you been? Don't leave Dad alone." The chubby man sobbed softly, looking very sad. This chubby guy is the owner of the grain shop, and Su Feng believes that he is the most likely place to sell long-stemmed lingmi. Cough cough, boss, boss. Although the other party was crying very sadly, Su Feng could only disturb them when they were most sad in order to complete the task. The fat man lifted his head, tears streaming down his face and a bewildered expression, making the grain shop owner look very pitiful. "Boss, I would like to inquire if you sell long-stemmed lingmi here?" Su Feng asked cautiously. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Divination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Divination. Boss, do you have long-stemmed lingmi for sale here? Su Feng looked at the tearful grain shop owner and asked cautiously. "Woo-woo, Xiaohua, where have you been? Dad can't lose you. How can I explain to your mother like this?" The grain shop owner was still immersed in his own world and didn't even notice Su Feng in front of him. "Xiaohua, Xiaohua, this name is so familiar, it seems like he has heard of it somewhere." Su Feng frowned slightly, and memories of his past life also flashed through his mind in an instant. At the table, an apostle dressed in Taoist attire wrapped his arms around Su Feng in a daze, and both of them clearly drank too much. "Senior brother, you don't know how difficult it is to obtain my initial profession of wandering Taoist. Just running around can make me circle Qingfeng Town more than 10 times. Do you know what impressed me the most during the mission?" It was the chubby grain shop owner who cried bitterly when he saw Xiaohua's bones. He knew he was a mysterious indigenous, but for some reason, seeing him cry made my eyes turn red. It's hard to find the bones of his daughter Xiaohua. Who would have thought that there was a dry well under the big locust tree outside the town? Who would have dug a well in that place where birds don't defecate? Moreover, the well was covered by withered branches and leaves. If there were any mission clues, I wouldn't be able to find the bones of that Xiaohua. Do you think so, senior brother? In his past life, after Li Handong obtained the initial S.level professional swordmaster, the entire Qingfeng Town secret realm was also upgraded from C1 level to S1 level. At that time, the owner and principal of the secret realm, Wei Hong, immediately closed the entrance to the secret realm and did not allow anyone to enter. He also explored the secret realm for more than a month, but never found any trace of the Wine Sword Immortal. In the end, under pressure from all parties, Wei Hong opened up the secret realm of Qingfeng Town. That year, the number of students enrolled in Songtao No. 1 middle school tripled, all aimed at the secret realm of Qingfeng Town. Everyone seemed to become the second Li Handong, but none of them succeeded. The initial S.level profession also flashed in the pan and never appeared in the secret realm of Qingfeng Town again. "Boss, how long has your daughter Xiaohua been lost?" Su Feng approached and asked softly. It seems that the word Xiaohua touched the heartstrings of the grain shop owner. He lifted his chubby face full of tears and looked at Su Feng, subconsciously saying, "It's been a whole day, it's been a whole day." She's only 5 years old, she's only 5 years old, sob boss, if I can help you find your daughter, can you give me a pound of long-stemmed lingmi? Su Feng asked tentatively. Can you help me find my daughter? Is that really possible? The grain shop owner grabbed Su Feng's right hand, seemingly afraid that he might suddenly run away, and asked nervously. I know divination and can help you find your daughter's whereabouts. Su Feng stared into the eyes of the grain shop owner and said, but I need a pound of long-stemmed spirit rice as a reward. This kind of thing is usually not easily provoked by Su Feng, because it is easy to be mistaken for the person who kidnapped Xiaohua. The most direct way is for Su Feng to go to the dry well and rescue Xiaohua himself. But now time is tight, and Su Feng can only seek the last task item under the guise of divination. Jean, divination. The grain shop owner's eyes finally shone with hope, nodding repeatedly and saying, okay, there is spiritual rice, I have spiritual rice. How much do you want? 1 pound, right away, just a moment. After speaking, the grain shop owner rushed to the front door and shouted loudly at the inside, Lai Fu, come out quickly. Where did you die? An old man rushed out of the yard in a panic. Old master, here you are. Lai Fu is here, and I am arranging. Hurry up and get a pound of lingmi, hurry up, urged the grain shop owner. Master, this lingmi is. Lai Fu looked at the grain shop owner in confusion, then secretly glanced at Su Feng, his eyes full of vigilance. What nonsense, is it necessary for me to beat you, master? The grain shop owner reached out to hit someone. Inexplicably, such a sentence suddenly came to Su Feng's mind. As soon as I entered the door, I saw him playing Lai Fu. In no time, the grain shop owner handed a bag of 1 pound long-stemmed lingmi to Su Feng, and then looked at him eagerly. After Su Feng took over the lingmi, the attributes of the long-stemmed lingmi naturally appeared before his eyes. Sure enough, this long-stemmed lingmi is also a top-notch mortal grade. Su Feng thought to himself, I didn't expect that this Qingfeng jade liquid needs so many top-notch mortal grade materials to be brewed. According to the manufacturing rules in the secret realm, the materials are all top-notch mortal grade. So the final product brewed will have a high probability of improving by 1 grade to reach a lower grade spiritual grade. Can we say that this Qingfeng jade liquid is a beautiful wine of lower grade spiritual grade? Based on Su Feng's past experience, whether it is cooking, forging, brewing tea, alchemy, painting, calligraphy, carving, or makeup, the final product effect in daily life and career often elevates by 1 level compared to the material grade. Taking the simplest cooking as an example, the tiger bones in Su Feng's hand are of the highest quality in the mortal realm. When used for soup making, the finished tiger bone soup is likely to be upgraded to a lower grade of the spiritual realm. At that time, the effect of the tiger bone soup may be significantly improved compared to the properties exhibited by the tiger bones. Just to achieve this effect, the proficiency of relevant skills must also reach a certain level. With Su Feng's current state, if he wants to cook a cup of tiger bone soup, which is a lower grade of the spiritual level, the success rate is almost 0. Master, can you take the initiative to predict the whereabouts of the little girl now? The grain shop owner nervously asked. He, who had already been desperate, now placed all his hopes on Su Feng, and the spiritual rice had already been given in advance. If Su Feng suddenly escaped at this time, the grain shop owner was afraid to collapse directly. Don't worry, let me take a look. Su Feng smiled and comforted. After speaking, Su Feng picked up a withered branch by the roadside and casually circled it on the ground. He reached out his left hand and pinched his fingers randomly, muttering words in his mouth. After a moment, Su Feng finished his work and said to the grain shop owner, I have already calculated the location of your daughter. It is under the big locust tree outside the town, where there is a dry well. Your daughter is currently in the dry well. The grain shop owner looked at the crooked circle on the ground, then at the withered branch in Su Feng's hand. His lips trembled slightly, and his eyes were full of suspicion. The butler of Lai Fu behind him directly called for two long workers holding wooden sticks, looking at Su Feng like thieves, wary of his escape. Su Feng felt helpless, as he was in a hurry. The entire divination ceremony did look a bit messy, but as long as it had an effect, it would be good. I'll wait with you here. You can send someone to the place I mentioned and see if Ling Qianjin is inside. If not, I'll return this pound of lingmi in its original form, and you can also report it to the official to arrest me. Su Feng said as he looked at the grain shop owner. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Crouching Tiger Rock. For collection and recommendation, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Crouching Tiger Rock. For collection and recommendation, Su Feng's confident appearance seemed to have regained the trust of the grain shop owner, and what Su Feng said was not that he was taking people to find him, but that he was also waiting here, asking the grain shop owner to find someone else. This statement has further boosted the confidence of the grain shop owner. Lai Fu, quickly send someone to the place where the master said to find the young lady, the grain shop owner ordered. Yes, sir. Lai Fu glanced at Su Feng again, turned around and entered the backyard. In no time, he called 3 or 4 more big men and instructed them to search according to Su Feng's instructions. Qingfeng town is not big, and the old locust tree outside the town is not a difficult place to find. Half an hour later, the few people who had just left, surrounded by a big man, quickly walked towards the grain shop. There was a sleeping little girl lying on the back of the big man. The little girl looked fine, but there were some scratches on her cheeks and neck. For a day, the little girl didn't drip any water, was tired and hungry, and had fallen into a coma. The grain shop owner saw the little girl and immediately rushed forward, crying and ordering people to call the doctor. For a moment, everyone was in a panic again. After arranging his daughter Xiaohua properly, the grain shop owner finally remembered Su Feng, the master. Feeling grateful and guilty, he wanted to treat Su Feng as a guest of honor, but couldn't find anyone. You have spoken to an indigenous resident of Qingfeng town's secret realm, with a completion rate of 6/10. You saved Xiaohua, the daughter of the grain shop owner, and changed their fate of death. The innkeeper's favor for you increased by 60 points. You have activated the reputation of Qingfeng town. At this time, your reputation of Qingfeng town is friendly at 200/3000. Have you reached friendliness yet? It's really fast. Su Feng looked at the system prompt and couldn't help but smile on his face. The reputation of Qingfeng town is very important, and the prerequisite for obtaining some initial professions is that the reputation of Qingfeng town reaches a certain level. For example, the C+ level initial profession, spearman, in Qingfeng town requires joining the town guard first, and then obtaining the initial profession, spearman, from an old soldier of the town guard. The prerequisite for joining the town guard is that the reputation of Qingfeng town must be above friendly. There are also some highly rewarded tasks in the town master's mansion that require the reputation of Qingfeng town to be friendly in order to be accepted. However, generally speaking, it is not too difficult to achieve a friendly reputation in Qingfeng town. As long as you complete the task of talking to 10 indigenous people, the reputation value can be accumulated to some extent. At most, you can do 1 or 2 errand tasks, and spend 1 or 2 days to improve your reputation to friendship. However, it can continue to improve. It is not so easy to achieve reverence or even admiration. Having collected all the materials, when Su Feng arrived at the tavern, it was already evening and time was tight. Along the way, Su Feng took the opportunity to buy some star anise and cinnamon from the pharmacy, a high-quality clay pot from the grocery store, and a few one of salt and onion and ginger seasoning from the tavern. After making all the preparations, Su Feng finally took a small jar from the tavern shopkeeper. Qingfeng Jade liquid, lower grade of spiritual level, fine wine, usage method, drinking. Effect. Permanently increases one's own attribute spirit by 5 points, permanently increases life and health by 200 points, and spiritual power by 200 points. Permanently increases spiritual power recovery speed by 10%, with a certain chance to improve cultivation talent. Each person can only consume it once. The drinking amount is not less than 100 milliliters. Ling level lower level, I didn't expect to actually reach Ling level lower level. Su Feng's eyes were full of joy. The chance of obtaining Ling level items in the first level secret realm was extremely small. If a senior secret realm disciple obtained Qingfeng Jade liquid, he would definitely notice something unusual. This is definitely not a resource that can be produced in a C1 level secret realm. In his past life, only Li Handong obtained the S.level initial profession, and after the quality of the entire secret realm was improved, some people began to pay attention to the Qingfeng town secret realm. Previously, it was treated as an ordinary C1 level secret realm and was not given much attention. After obtaining the Qingfeng Jade liquid, Su Feng hurriedly ran towards the Daqing mountain. Only there could he encounter the Wine Sword Immortal and inherit the Sword Master profession from him. Su Feng climbed up the Daqing mountain and quickly touched the boundary of the secret realm. This was an invisible wall, but it could clearly touch the transparent wall, an intangible substance. For the indigenous people in the secret realm, this wall did not exist, and they could leave Qingfeng town freely or enter Qingfeng town from the outside world. But for these secret realm apostles, this transparent wall is like a cage that restricts them to only move in the vicinity of Qingfeng town and cannot cross the thunder pit halfway. That's it. Su Feng smiled and touched the transparent wall with one hand. He slowly leaned forward along the wall, and in no time, he saw a protruding rock not far away. This huge protruding rock resembles a crouching tiger, so it is called Crouching Tiger Rock by the people of Qingfeng town. It was clearly recorded in Li Handong's memoirs that he obtained the inheritance of the S-level initial professional swordsman here. Su Feng arrived at Wohu Rock and without saying a word, started digging and filling the pit with firewood. He built a simple stove, lit the firewood, and carefully placed the clay pot with tiger bones, cinnamon and star anise, and onion and ginger seasonings on the bonfire rack. In no time, bubbles began to bubble in the clay pot, and Su Feng pulled out a few sticks of firewood. The bonfire became smaller and slowly simmered. Unfortunately, I haven't mastered the cooking technique yet, so I can't fully utilize the properties and effects of tiger bones. Su Feng looked at the tiger bone soup that was starting to turn oily, his eyes filled with regret. Originally, it was possible to stew a pot of tiger bone soup, which is a lower grade of the spiritual level. However, unfortunately, without the blessing of cooking techniques, the original properties and effects of the tiger bone material can only be utilized. It takes at least 2 hours to stew tiger bone soup, which is much more time-consuming than barbecue. If it arrives too late and the tiger bone soup has not yet been simmered, which cannot attract the Wine Sword Immortal, all the efforts will be in vain. This is also why Su Feng is so urgent. Su Feng sat patiently on the crouching tiger rock, waiting in front of him. There was an open jar of fine wine, with a refreshing breeze and a gentle breeze blowing. The air was filled with a strong aroma of wine, causing Su Feng's throat to constantly twitch and make swallowing movements. This wine is so fragrant that it almost tickles my wine worms. Su Feng's nose was almost close to the mouth of the wine jar, constantly sniffing the taste. In his past life, Su Feng was also an alcoholic, enjoying all kinds of wine. He had tasted various fine wines and even brewed some spiritual wines himself. His resistance to fine wines was almost zero. Faced with such an inferior spirit level wine, if it weren't for obtaining the S.level initial professional swordsman and relying on strong willpower to endure, I'm afraid I wouldn't have finished drinking up to 2 pounds of Qingfeng Jade liquid before the tiger bone soup is cooked and stewed. End of this chapter.